If you do nothing for 1 minute and rest for 10 minutes, the group of lies in front of you is that this life-or-death duel with the bison has already lasted 4 hours, and the duel will continue for another 13 hours. In other words, it would take the lion a full 17 hours to completely defeat the bison. It's unbelievable to say that. But the truth is that this lioness is lying on the ground, looking cold. In fact, he just lay down from exhaustion. The skinny lioness is inherently weak. 1 minute of fighting is enough to exhaust all of her strength. Faced with this strong and indomitable lioness, he lost the lion's murderous aura, and even felt a bit timid and helpless. He could only lie on the ground and continue to rest, waiting for his physical strength to recover. At this time, it was the young lion's turn to play, but he could not show the bravery that a lion should have. He just lay on the injured bison wearing a reading backdrop, but this was not enough to make the director leave. Even though the bison had lost its legs a long time ago, it could still fly, and the lion reacted. In response, he found he couldn't lift anything. In his heart, opponent 1, the male lion, also chose to participate in the fight. But the two brothers only briefly mentioned the bison's illness, which made the bison very unhappy. I even thought about the pain of the Sichuan lion. The brave bison at that time became extremely cautious, and every time the bison shook its head, the lions all broke out in a cold sweat. They even don't dare go forward a bison in search of opportunities. In fact, the bison was also seriously exhausted at this time. As long as a brave male lion steps forward and strangles the fight, the battle can quickly end. But unfortunately now the lion has lost that estimate. The appearance of the elephant can disrupt their rhythm, affecting the lion's confidence. The elephant's intervention helped the lion rest for a while, and also gave the bison a rare respite. But this had no practical effect on the bison, because at this time it was foaming at the mouth, covered in cuts and bruises, and had even lost the basic ability to walk. Her fate had been decided long ago. Only the lion's delay in locking the key had caused her to endure such a long period of pain. Even so, the bison still did not give up pursuing life. It tried its best to stand up and escape the lion by 90%. Judging from the scene, bison's efforts indeed paid off. The lions released the bison, but only temporarily. The lions started practicing again and were successful because they were not hungry. But if you're not hungry, why bother with an NRU? Isn't this nonsense? Look, I could have failed a class and fallen asleep on the spot. This was not because of the car, but because the lion had rested and slept. This life and death battle with the bison lasted well into the night. At this time, the lion's physical strength had clearly been completely restored, but his body was full of bruises. The bison is already weak. It's time to go. If its throat is not cracked, then the second one will come and reap the fruits of its labor. The bison also completely left this cruel world after experiencing the most painful day of his life. Looking at the entire step, this bison certainly died the most painful and longest death among all the bison, and all this pain was caused by these 3 lions. Just is it unfair to say? Nothing good happens where there are cameras. Clearly, this group of African buffaloes did not have a deep understanding of the first law of the savannah. They did not know that the lion not far away now had a bold plan. It did not blindly rush towards the herd of cattle but quietly ambushed under a dry tree. This was the only way for the buffalo return to the city road. Although this ambush seemed a bit indecent, it was actually very correct in dealing with this group of unresponsive Taurus brothers. When the SUU brothers discovered the male lion lying on the ground, it was too late. The sudden appearance of the male lion caused the SUU brothers to panic and run away. This was exactly the result the lion wanted, and it also gave the bull brothers what they wanted. No, there will be a collective war. This bear is very unfavorable, and can even be beaten to death by a group of people. The herd of cows running around creates an opportunity for the lion to challenge the cow. Like the situation in the picture, the slow-running cow is unfortunately chosen by the lion. Mother cow told me from the beginning, it's okay to have delicious food when faced with being killed by a lion. If I can overcome your second uncle, I can do whatever I want with this young cow, understand? My mother's painting spirit. A thoughtless escape would only push him into a desperate situation, at which point the lion had locked his throat. Even though little NRU had to struggle and couldn't get in, the feeling of suffocation caused by it made him dizzy. He couldn't even call for help from Uncle NRU, and he also didn't know that the herd of cattle was running away at this time a few kilometers away. Furthermore, the second uncle also said that even though he heard his nephew calling for help, he did not turn back. The comrades who beat him eventually returned. Or what about song lyrics? You really thought there was only one male lion at the scene? You didn't even look to see who these males were? They weren't sneaking around. This lion will not appear until the buffalo falls. Either she was warning her companions about retaliatory attacks by the herd, or she was simply waiting for her companions to prepare the meal and serve it to the table. In short, the IQ of male lions is said to be much higher than that of herbivorous newtons. Therefore, if the cow brothers do not unite, they will not be able to change the outcome of being eaten. This was the third day after the lion fought with the buffalo. During the fight, a hole was punctured in the inner thigh. Now the wound is infected and swollen, so I have to do it myself. What's even more terrifying is that if the body was placed on the cruel grassland, would it still survive? What we don't know is that at the beginning of these videos, there is a mallard duck and an adult lion behind them, and there is hidden murderous intent in front of them. Cool. The African buffalo finally plunged into the water hole. Apparently the buffalo had the first conflict, so the group's hippopotamus skills ensured there would be no crocodiles in the lake. The lions did not give up before the buffalo. Even though they don't know how to determine whether there are crocodiles in the water or not, faced with the temptation of a beef dinner, they still choose to take the risk. But how can we assess the loss due to poor water quality? I don't even know if I can drink river water or not. The answer is very clear. Kotsu is obviously very self-aware. Duong sees that the situation is not right, resolutely abandons buffalo, retreating under pressure. It's just that this lion is still determined to follow his own path, relying on his youth and strength, wanting to send information to the water. After 2 rounds, the buffalo looked back at the moon and could not figure it out. Okay, it must be said that, on the grass, lions can rely on flexible movements to avoid attacks with buffalo horns. The lion's reaction speed in the water has decreased a lot. It is not impossible for the lion to not have time to avoid being penetrated through the body. At this time, the lion is in an upside-down position without touching the ground, even at risk of drowning. What can you do if you say you're fine? You see, you loved the 4 brothers so much, even the 4 lions saw the brothers being teased by the water, and did not dare to easily approach the buffalo to save their comrades from fire and water, leaving the 2 brothers alone have to fight for themselves on the horns of America. And leaving is even more desperate. What was even more heartbreaking was that the 4 immature male lions on the shore abandoned him and disappeared without a trace. This is indeed the dog brother. Fortunately the lion is quite good, lucky among misfortunes finally escapes the buffalo's horn. We also went through an extremely painful process, but at least we were able to save 1 life. It's just that an injured lion's hunting ability is weakened, so it can actually survive. I felt that perhaps he had to protect him well to have a problem. Even if the upper body could move forward, the lion would still be crippled for life. Without living allowance, your life will be difficult. As soon as I walked in, I saw me running. If I hadn't been paying attention, I would have thought it was the big yellow dog of the second team's family. It is said that such a down-to-earth model is admirable. Even the boss behind him must nod in praise, and at the same time constantly encourage the model to try and work harder. I will give you a sister-in-law next year. But in fact, working is not a good thing. After all, I belong to him. I am not a major. Looking at the bustling Duong Tuyen street on the south side, the lioness is very confused, not knowing whether to continue run and imitate Huang Huang or not. The children at home should run to Liji South Road. In the end, after many analyses, the old man still felt that the working age was a fragile friend after all, but he did not think so. He always believed that as long as he didn't go out, this would be the warmest harbor. But now the lioness's visit has turned this place into a cold cave. Outside the door, the sound of a warrior's shirt being torn apart was heard, like a sharp sword slowly piercing Hesitation's chest. Peng Peng panicked and no longer had the equipment to act cool. In the end, she could not bear the consequences of being cornered, squeezed step by step. Feeling of oppression, he complained about the unfairness of his fate, roared loudly and began to go crazy, but the lioness outside the door still did not give up because of Peng Peng's roar. For his mother, Peng Peng's crying excited him even more. From then on, the lioness increased her speed. The smooth and rhythmic digging movements show that the lion dance team is very limited. If nothing unexpected happens, there really is no accident. A long day of hard work finally paid off. The equipment master who had lived a glorious life was finally found in a panic. There was no doubt that Peng Peng was dead. But under his cover, the rear Ping Pension stepped on the accelerator, directly directing the 28-cylinder turbocharged engine into the air and disappeared from our sight in less than a second. The Hesitation, using his life to protect Ping Pension from the cocoon, raised the value of Peng Peng's death to a new level, and was also the highest level in Peng Peng's cup-making profession. This can be considered an equipment seed reserved for the Peng Peng family. What more is there to say? Let us applaud our mother's efforts and Peng Peng's integrity.